Arabia is one of the most geopolitically important and powerful regions on the planet today, and technically this is also the largest peninsula on Earth at 3.2 million square kilometers. Despite its size, the population of Arabia is actually quite low, containing only around 77 million people, less than the population of Turkey, all while occupying a landmass the same size as India. This low population density can most likely be attributed to the harsh desert conditions found almost uniformly across the whole of Arabia. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 countries are contained within this region, and 5 of them are consistently considered some of the richest countries on the planet. Nearly all of this wealth comes from the export of oil, as Arabia contains the world's largest proven oil reserves beneath their sands. Saudi Arabia is the leading oil exporting country in the world, sending out over 8 million barrels of oil every day. This has given the countries in this region tremendous prominence on the world stage, as many other countries around the globe depend on their exports to power their homes, industries, and maybe even their entire economies. While oil might be the main focus today when talking about Arabia, this land has been inhabited for thousands of years, and within the sand dunes, oases, and wadis lies a deep and rich history. Its name, Arabia, is a great example of how far back the history goes in this region. The name has 2 parts to it, Arab and Iya. This follows the common Latin tradition of placing Iya at the end of a name to indicate that it's the name of a place. So Arabia really means the land of Arabs. Okay, so that's one part figured out. Now we just have to figure out where Arab comes from, linguistically speaking. Arab in this context refers to the Arab people group, which is the second largest ethnic group on the planet, with a total of around 430 million people belonging to it, only falling behind the truly enormous Han Chinese ethnic group. Meanwhile, the language of the Arabs, Arabic, is the 5th most widely spoken language on Earth, and the Arab people have spread far beyond the Middle East, to northern Africa all the way to Morocco, down into East Africa into places like Ethiopia, and even into Western Asia, as far as Pakistan and India. But it's thought that they started out as a nomadic tribe outside of Arabia in the deserts of Syria, and eventually migrated south into what's now the Arabian Desert. Since these people have had such a long and wide-reaching history, understanding the origin of the term Arab is a bit tricky. The first recorded use of the term Arab in Arabic is from an inscription commemorating Imru al-Qais ibn Amir, which, yeah, I probably didn't pronounce properly, so I'll just call him Imru. Imru was the second Lakhmid king, meaning he ruled over this area, which you might notice is outside of where the Arab people originated, showing from very early on the Arab people were spreading across the region. In his epitaph, Imru is called the king of all Arabs who owned the crown. So we're done, right? Arabia comes from Arab, which was first used on this tablet. Well, obviously not. This usage implies that the term Arabia had been in use for some time prior to it being inscribed in stone. What this really tells us is that by the year 328 CE, the year this tablet was created, the Arab people had adopted the name for themselves, but this doesn't actually explain where it came from or what it means. For this, we must go deeper. While today we might think of the Semitic people as only Jewish people, Semitic actually refers to the Semitic language group, which includes both Arabic and Hebrew, among several other languages. This language group originated in the Middle East region, so it's believed that the term Arab got its start within this language group. Because of this, many people have looked to some of the earliest versions of Semitic languages in hopes of finding answers. In Assyrian records, a description of a man known as Gindabu was found, and in it he is referred to as the ruler of Matu Arbai. Gindabu was a king in the region of Aram, who allied against the Assyrians, fighting in the Battle of Karkar in 853 BCE. In Assyrian, Matu Arbai translates into Arab land. This is the earliest record we have of Arabs being referred to as a distinct people group with this name attached. This means that the term Arab was being used at least 3,000 years ago. But as to why the Assyrians referred to Gindabu as the ruler of Arab lands, it's still a little unclear. One theory is that they were using a derivation of the root Gurub, meaning west, to describe the Arabs. This does make a fair amount of sense because at the time the Assyrians controlled these lands while Gindabu and the rest of the Aramean kings who fought against the Assyrians came from here, to the west of the Assyrians. So yeah, it's really no surprise that the Assyrians would call the Arameans Westerners. If this was the case though, that would mean Arabia, which is located within the Middle East, would translate into the land of Westerners, which basically basically contradicts itself. And anyway, Arabia is in the southern part of this region. However, there are others who think the term Arab may have its origins in Hebrew. In ancient versions of this language, Arab and Arava literally translate into desert or grassland, both of which were very common environments for people living in this region. In the Hebrew Bible, which was written right around the same time Gindabu was fighting with the Assyrians, the female form of Arava, Araba, was used to describe a region where the Arabic-speaking Nabateans lived. This is bonus information, but the Nabateans are the people who built what are now the ruins of Petra, which you may have seen in some movies. These guys dug really cool structures into the exteriors of stone faces, and I just thought it was worth mentioning. But anyway, when listing those who gave tribute to King Solomon in the Hebrew Bible, the masculine form of Arab was used to describe the kings of Arab, or the kings of the desert, and Arabi was the word used to describe any person who lives in the desert. So basically, Arab originally could have had two origins. The Assyrian origin means Arabia comes from the land of Westerners, while the Hebrew origin means Arabia is the land of desert or desert dwellers. Both are roughly the same age, so it's really up to individuals to decide which one they believe makes more sense. There's one more small theory, however, that Arab actually came from the Hebrew root Arab. Yeah, Hebrew doesn't really have any vowels, so that's why it kind of looks strange written in our alphabet. But anyway, this Arab came to mean trade, with la'arav meaning to exchange, and then people who engaged in exchange, traders, became urvan. It's not a very well supported idea, but I brought this up because we're having a little exchange right now with me making videos and you watching them and such. If you enjoyed this exchange and you'd like to keep having it, you might consider exchanging with me over on Patreon to help keep this channel going. It really helps me out and you could get your name in a video like these guys. If not, that's fine too. But if this video made you curious about how other places got their names, I've got a whole playlist you might be interested in, so make sure to check that out. If you have any ideas on place names that you'd like me to explain in a future video, feel free to suggest them in the comments and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss them if I do end up making them. I'll be back next week with another video. Thanks.